Hey guys, welcome once again to the Jett Show. Today I have John Q, a DJ, mountain biker, and sales guru. And today's topic is going to be about artificial intelligence. Will it be the norm? Let's welcome John Q. What's up, John?
Hey, what's up, George?
What do you think? We got music now?
Very nice.
I got an audience. I got like $3 more now for the budget.
Yeah, the writer's strike is not affecting this show one bit. We just carry right on, right?
That's right. That's
All
right.
the writers are on strike. All the shows are like repeats. Not this show. This is brand new.
Yeah, this is brand new. So, John, I was speaking with Alex De La Cruz on the last episode. We talked about artificial intelligence in art and in music, but I really want to get your perspective because I'm sure something is in your mind that you want to tell us. What do you think about AI or artificial intelligence in art?
First off, what scares me about AI is the deep fakes. So is this the real George Jett I'm speaking with?
No.
I thought so. So yeah,
by the way,
I actually,
I'm sorry about that. My laugh track, I didn't hit that. It's always delayed.
See, the writer's strike is affecting this show. I did listen to the last show with Alex. I thought it was good, and when you guys were talking about art and music, I thought of a few things. And, I try to keep an open mind to stuff like that, stuff in general, I guess. But with the AI, I'm like a tech enthusiast, I guess, like you. So stuff like that excites me, but there's a lot of concern as well. But when it comes to art, I think most people are going to look at that and be like, oh, that's not real art. It wasn't created by an artist. Because you can basically just give it prompts on what you want a picture to be, what kind of background you want it to be, and it'll appear and it looks beautiful, right? And then you can do variations of that if you want to add something or take something away. So you just basically tell it what you want and it generates a picture.
Right.
So if you think about it, there's a level of creativity that goes into making that, even though you're not stroking a paintbrush or a pencil or, an iPad. It kind of reminds me in a way of how digital music was and how, typical musicians looked at digital music. And if you think about how it was years ago when it started coming in, musicians just looked at it like that's not real music, and even fans of
and it's not going to go anywhere.
Right, and it's not going to go anywhere. And then look at it now, right? You actually have those, I'll say, analog type of musicians, those typical musicians, even incorporating electronic music into their music. And those are probably some of the ones that said, yeah, this will never go anywhere. So those folks that are creating electronic music, a lot of them are not typical musicians. A lot of them don't come from a musical background, typical classical taught musical background, but they're still creating awesome music, right? And it's what we hear. Probably 80% of the music that you're hearing on the radio these days is electronic or has electronic elements to it. So again, the art part of this, made me think of that. And maybe one day you're going to have AI created art that'll end up in galleries and people will be paying a lot of money for it, and it's not traditionally done from a paint stroke with a paintbrush, but there is creativity that's put into it. And maybe those who have, really unique creativity will rise to the top from, AI art. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. As far as art is concerned, paintings and things like that, I think there is a market for it. especially with the new generation. You know, let's say that they're a mountain biker like yourself, and they said, you know, draw me a blue mountain bike and put the blue mountain bike on the back or behind the blue bike, put a mountain and make the mountain have snow. And then on top of that, put a river in the background, put some dolphins or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And it's creating that. And then they say, okay, now make the bike a certain hue of blue, or make it more blue, make it lighter blue. And they're adding their style to this AI generated bike, but they came up with it. So
Yeah.
I don't see why
Yeah.
it couldn't be art.
It's very possible. Like I said, I'll keep an open mind. I'm not going
Yeah.
to look at it in a negative light, because it reminds me of how the electronic music was, and
Right.
we love electronic music. So, and I love analog, typical analog music too. That's played with a live band also. So
Right.
I'll have the same love for original art that we know how it's created nowadays, and AI created art. I think I'll have an
Right.
appreciation for both.
I've seen photographers now that have been using the AI for weddings, and the pictures are amazing. I mean, they're literally getting the bride and groom and putting them in planets. I mean, this looks realistic. And
Hmm.
coming from the photographer part, I'm telling you, yes, it does look good and it could pass for something creative. And also, that if you think back a little bit, Instagram with the filters, you know, Instagram grew because of the filters. Everybody was adding filters, and then we had the Pixel something Arta, or I don't know. It's a filter that you can put pictures. You can take a picture with your cell phone, run it through the app, and the app will spit out nice variations of your own face and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So, for your audience that's listening, I'd love to hear in the comments, would they purchase AI created art? Because even though you might have people that are art enthusiasts, but you also have the everyday person, right, that buys maybe art
sure.
for their house. Would you buy AI created art if you knew it was AI created art, or are you anti
AI.
AI
Yeah.
created art? Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, I guess like the newer generation, the new generation would probably do that. Maybe somebody our age probably says, "Nah, that's not real." You know, I
Yeah,
would
I don't
say,
know.
I don't
I
know.
don't
Yeah.
know. I'd love to hear. Again, at
Yeah.
least we can get some people talking in the comments about it and what their thoughts are, and whether or not they purchase AR created art, or would they even be able to tell the difference. Again,
Right.
depends on how unique the art is, right? If it's
Correct.
realistic and it's a genuine mountain, well, how are you going to tell the difference between that and something that was painted, or a picture taken, versus
Right.
something that's unique, like your example with dolphins, at the mountain in the snow.
Right. Right.
So
Right. Right.
music creation, you shared a video with me a while back with the Drake and Weekend, AI created video. um, I think you'll see more of that with music creation. Hopefully it's done in a unique way, and people are not trying to fake it like that was. I know that was kind of like either a spoof or whatever it was, but hopefully people are not trying to legitimately pass that off as real, something like that.
Right.
And they're using it in a creative way, like a legitimate creative way. I think that would be fine. Um, I think the same way, if somebody creates something, if you put a prompt into a large language model and it's able to spit out, a track for you, we see it already doing lyrics. You can put in, hey, write song lyrics that sound like this particular person's flow or way of
Right.
singing. So if you could do that for the music production part of it,
Right.
again, I try to keep an open mind, and I look at
Right.
it as, yeah, maybe somebody can create something that's unique and do it that way. It's of course making things easier, but you can't always be negative against something that's making it easier for you. You can't. I mean, technology is going to make things easier.
Right.
And
I
you can't be like, oh, that's taking the work out of it. So, I don't give it credibility. Because look at DJing and
right.
how technology has changed DJing. It is what it is. You can't
Right.
fight technology. It's gonna evolve.
Right. You're gonna have the older generation probably against it, and you're gonna have the new generation that's all they know, and
Yeah.
it's easy for them to do it. They're gonna create their own beats, like I said in the last episode. There's programs or apps, AI apps that will create a beat, just like say, okay, add guitar, add this, bring down the guitar, change the riff. I need this, and this. It'll create the beat for you. Then you have the AI, which is like the one from Drake that I was talking about, where it's mimicking Drake. I would say almost 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And there's another AI program which freaked me out completely, where I trained it by just giving it an episode of me talking without the other person, and it copied me pretty damn good.
Yeah.
and
And
right. And
and
even my inflections and things, it picked everything up.
yeah, and that's what I was kind of referring to at the beginning of our talk here. There's dangers, right? Also with AI, and that's where's the line, and who's going to cross the line with deep fake type stuff,
Yeah.
putting out stuff that, sounds like an artist, but the artist had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Are they going to get recognition from that and maybe even money somehow? And they're screwing the artist because the artist was never legitimately involved. Stuff like that is scary.
Right.
I hope that these companies like OpenAI and other companies that are creating these AI models, that they are putting the proper controls in place to not let that happen, or there's going to be companies that come out with software that can detect stuff that's AI, so that can't happen. But
Right.
right now, it's almost like the Wild West
It
because
is. It is.
you can the scary part of it, right? Like, is if somebody gets a supposed phone call from a loved one and the loved one's like, hey, I'm in trouble, send money, what have you, you can scam people out of money by doing stuff like that. So
Right.
I urge people to really, I mean, don't take it lightly. Maybe come up with a safe word for family, your wife or your husband or your kids. Come up with a
Right.
safe word so that if you're ever a victim of that safe word can help identify whether or not that's really your
That is a good
daughter or
point.
your son on
That
the
is a
phone.
very good point.
Yeah, so you really got to be careful of stuff like that. And like I said, right now it's a little bit of the Wild West
Right.
where there's a lot of controls are not in place yet to stop things like that. So you've got people putting out, a Drake video with, with the weekend supposedly, and it was never then. But who's to say if you didn't tell people that and you were like,
Right.
hey, look at this new track,
Right.
they might think
They
that.
will not.
So
Right. Right.
yeah, so that's the scary part of AI. But again, hopefully the people that are creating these programs are putting controls in place, or at least there's software companies that are coming out with ways to
Right.
detect the AI.
So I've been using several applications. I could give it the speech right now that you're talking and mimic your voice, which I'm going to do on the next episode. I'm just going to train it with your voice and see how it picks up your voice and how, if you really think I'm talking to you,
Hmm.
because it's really that good. And I think
Have have
that
a
will,
have a safe word.
yeah. What's your safe word? I think that, like I said, the new generation is going to use it, is going to embrace the technology. In the last couple of months, it's really ramped up, like really good, from like
Yeah,
50% all the way up to like 80%. It's that good
yeah,
now. So I could imagine what's going to happen in the next couple of years or even months, because it seems like thing things now for photography, videography, and a bunch of other stuff, which is just amazing.
The other negative part of it, is that it's probably going to put a good amount of people out of work,
Of
in
course,
different
of course,
fields. I don't know how it's going to affect things like DJing. I think if you look at, programs like Spotify that are creating the next song that they think that you want to hear based on, what you've listened to, what you've liked, what's been shared with you, etc., does a really good job. It
right.
does a really good job. And I mentioned Spotify, but before Spotify, Pandora was doing it, some other streaming apps like that. So if you think how that could affect DJing, it's very possible that it could. It probably already is to some degree because maybe there's certain venues that are choosing to use a service like that
Right.
over a DJ.
Right.
Who knows?
And I keep a positive view. I mean, on that, even though I'm a DJ, I embrace technology. I love technology. I'm an older DJ, but I don't refer to the background history of what happened back in the 90s on what things are going to change. I really honestly think that not too long from now, you're going to see a lot of software, or people could go in and say, I have a yoga class, or I have a biking, spinning class, or whatever. I need these songs mixed all together, and it will beat mix all the songs because the computer could beat mix better than anybody else. And it'll align everything correctly and put everything in the right spot and go from there.
I think that's closer than we think.
Oh yeah.
I think that's really close to happening.
Yeah.
And so yeah, is that going to take jobs away from DJs? It
Absolutely.
very well felt, yeah, it very well might. And I'm a firm believer. I always have been, but especially now, like you have to kind of set yourself apart from other DJs that are
Right.
doing the same type of DJing you are, because if you're not doing some sort of entertaining while you're DJing,
Right.
whether that's, a little bit light emceeing on the mic, or you're animated in some way without it, looking overly done, but like just something that people see visually that say, hey, it's worth having a DJ here because of that.
Right.
Because if you just solely look at the music and the mixing, come on,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody has
Right.
the same
Right.
music nowadays. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody almost has the same libraries, more or less.
Right.
Everybody's playing the same type of music at these
Well,
common venues. So what's going to set you apart is what you do.
right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
And
Not what the music is doing.
true. And that's what we always talk about. It's the human person and what you're bringing to the table as far as entertainment. What is
Yeah.
it that the DJ does, and why is this DJ better than the other? Because he plays a certain style, or he's giving it a difference from John Q or Decade or Leo or whoever it might be. Do they all sound different? What makes you to that next level?
Yeah.
Let's bring up James Hype, which I've mentioned him several times. He has a unique style, and people hire him for that. And that's why he's making the big bucks. Just the same way you can go to ChatGPT and say, write me a story about this, and then, give it the characters and it writes basically a book. That's the same way it's going to be. And the DJ,
Yeah.
I like The Weeknd. I like Michael Jackson. I like Bruno Mars. I like this remixer, Calvin Harris. I like, whoever it might be. And it's going to go and give you all those styles of songs, and it's going to mix it in flawlessly for you. And with the AI of speech, you can say every 5 minutes, announce drink specials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Announce that we have a new entree. All
Yeah.
of those things are, like I said, the voice, it copied, that software copied my voice. So if it knows how I speak or how I MC, why couldn't it announce something?
Yeah.
So
In Samuel L. Jackson's voice.
well, you pick whatever voice you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, motherfucker, You better order this goddamn this entree.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So that's a little bit scary too,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
because you don't want
Right.
anybody's job taken away. You don't want gigs lost to something like that. But the truth
I
of the
don't.
matter is,
I don't see a problem with that. I just think that's gonna push the DJ to be different, and I'm
yeah,
always for that. And then every
true, but
episode I always
it
what
is adding competition.
absolutely, but
You
that's
know what I
okay.
mean?
That's
Yeah.
okay. Competition is always good because you learn from it.
You do, but the trouble with DJing, in the past, I don't know, you want to go back at least 7 to 10 years, and we've talked about this too, is, the battle for, who's going to do this gig for X amount of money, right? And everybody keeps cutting their prices.
Yeah,
If you have a program like this that a bar owner can subscribe to, or
yeah, but that yeah,
you
but
brought up the person in the gym like that's doing a spin class, and let's say they subscribe to a service like this. Now all of a sudden, forget about trying to compete because this DJ's charging $150 for 3 hours, and you want to do it for $100 an hour. Now
that
all of a sudden,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
losing that gig totally.
that's fine. That's fine.
You think so?
Things evolve. Things
Okay.
evolve. Things
All
evolve.
right. All right. I'm
I
surprised to
mean,
hear you say that being a
I
DJ that does those
no,
gigs. I mean, you could lose a gig
that's
to a
right.
service like that.
Yes, I fully understand that. I fully understand that. But then again, I always have my fallback into other things that I can do. It's not just the DJ portion. Yes, I am
Right.
a full-time DJ, but I'm also a producer. I'm also a photographer. I'm also a
What if you
cinematographer.
didn't have those other skills and DJing was your primary? Be a
Then I
concern
would
then.
be screwed. I would have to go get a job.
Yeah. So there's a lot of DJs out there like that don't have those other talents that you do,
Right.
that the DJing part of it is their
Right.
primary thing.
Right. But you're right. You're right. You're right. But most DJs, I mean, that I know, have a side job or have a full-time job and DJ on the weekends. There's only a
Yeah.
handful of DJs that I know personally that are full-time DJs. That's all they do.
True. But if
But
you got a DJ,
but the
if you're a
majority, what you're
DJ,
saying is a majority.
yeah, and even so, if you're a DJ that, all right, you've got a 9 to 5, let's say, and the DJing is your side gig. Some DJs are making decent money as that side gig, and if that income is cut, it's not saying that they're going to be homeless, but
Right.
that could be a big cut depending on the DJ. If you've got a DJ that's DJing at least 2 times a night every
No,
week,
I get it. I get it.
you know what I mean?
And that's why I say embrace technology and don't be stuck on one thing. Don't be just the DJ that mixes from A to B and
Right.
that's it.
That's the point. Yeah, exactly.
Make
Exactly.
yourself unique.
Yeah.
Have something else to bring to the table.
Yeah. Put a cardboard box on your head,
There you go. There you go.
The mouse head, the
Right.
square head. I have to let
Because
Layla out of the room.
oh,
Just give me 1 sec. Sorry, guys.
right.
My dog no longer likes the topic. She wants out.
Yeah. Oh, well, because we're not talking about any dog topics.
That's right.
So let's
That's
talk about those treats.
Yeah.
Damn, get me back
Yeah.
in.
Exactly.
So I wanted to discuss something. I told you I had like a rant a while back ago, and it's kind of like in topic.
Mhm.
And it's funny. The older I get, the grumpier I get. But I don't mean right. I don't mean to sound grumpy. Like it's like now I get to express what I really think and
Yeah.
not hold back.
And if we want to keep you happy, we need to go to your Patreon.
Yeah. Right. So right now, commercial time. Sign up for Patreon, which doesn't exist. But no, what I was going to say is there's a couple of things that bothering me. Okay, first of all, DJs that are in there anywhere between 45 and 50. They don't embrace new music. They're stuck in their 80s and 90s and early 2000s. They don't embrace brand new music that's not on the radio. They don't embrace new technology. They don't embrace the sync button. They're like, oh my God, sync? What, you don't know how to beat mix? Who the fuck gives a shit if you know how to beat mix or not? I mean, if you're a DJ, you should know how to beat mix. There's nothing wrong with the computer setting the time for you, you know? It's just one less thing you have to go worry about, you know, setting up the BPM. And I'm getting tired of these old school DJs just nagging on technology, just getting tired of it. It's like, I don't even want to talk to any old DJs anymore.
Yeah. Well, those same DJs are probably still using controllers, right? And that's technology.
It is.
So the fact
right.
that they're not hitting the sync button, I mean, that's up to them, you
Right.
know, to each his own, I guess.
Well, hold on. It's not just the sync button. It's also purchasing a brand new controller that has a bunch of other features that they don't even use. Like, they buy the controller because, oh, it's the latest and greatest, I have to buy it, but they don't experiment with all the new features it has. Like the FL6, FL10, whatever the new Pioneer one came out, and now everybody sold their controller for this one. Prior to that, it was the Rain 1 or the Pioneer one that spins. You know, it's like they're not doing anything different. They're just buying the latest and greatest. They don't learn how to do anything else with it. So I just have a problem with that. It's the same DJ with a brand new controller. That's it.
It's them wasting the money. I mean, when it comes down to it, if they're not going to utilize the new features to, again, set themselves apart from another DJ or to enhance what they've been doing,
right,
then it's their money that they're wasting. And
right.
it's not impacting them at all because, again, they're not getting additional gigs because of it.
No.
It's not because, oh, you've got the latest and greatest that has green buttons instead of red and the crowd's going to recognize that.
Right.
They're not.
Right.
So they're just they're in their own head about that. I don't know.
Right.
They're choosing what they want and they're not taking advantage of, you know, available features. It's just a bad purchase, but it's their money. What can I tell you? But I agree. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So on a segue to this new topic, I hear your daughter is getting into DJing.
Yeah. It's funny. I guess I should have nudged her towards it earlier on. You know, she's of course 20 now, and since she's a baby, she knows that, you know, daddy was or does DJing, you know, every once in a while. I kind of phased out of it as she get older. Yeah, as she got older, I kind of phased out of it, but she always sees equipment in the house and she sees me mixing. Until recently, she never really had an interest on her own. Again, maybe I could have nudged her that way, but recently she's come to me and said, "Hey, you know, she wants me to teach her how to DJ." So
she approached you.
She approached me. Part of it is because she's in college and, you know, she's going to parties at sororities and fraternities and going to bars and stuff up in her college, and she sees DJs there.
Right.
One of her friends that are in her group of friends, a male guy, a guy, is DJing, and there is one girl DJ that's kind of known throughout the sorority and fraternity parties there to DJ. So she's gotten interested. And she's, you know, now she realizes, hey, like, dad has equipment at home. Like, why doesn't he just teach me? So she said, hey, can you show me how to DJ?
And you said, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I said,
you put her in front of the unit and the controller, and you told her this is this, and this, and she just went at it.
I did. So I didn't get too deep into music theory, but something that helped me when I learned how to DJ, or just before I learned how to DJ and get my own equipment, I had somebody that I was close friends with who was an audio engineer, kind of explained to me a little bit about music theory. And I think that's important for DJs to know at least the basics of music theory and how a song is built, what a um, 4 bars mean, 16 bars,
Oh,
it's all timing. So I think it was important to at least explain that to her a little bit. And most people know that timing because they know songs that they listen to. They know when there's going to be a change in that song because they know a song really, really well.
right.
But they don't really, it doesn't click to them until you explain to them, hey, that's based on, a time measurement.
Right.
So
So let me ask you this. How long do you think it took you just to explain that part?
it probably took about 20 to 30 minutes to talk through that a little bit with her. And
Okay.
again,
Now
it's
I'm sorry
easy
to
enough to it's easy enough to reference songs that they know because you can tell them like, hey, you know this song and you know when this part comes in that song. So it makes it a little easy. So 20 to 30 minutes.
did she understand what you were saying? Like did she learn and grasp the idea of what you were explaining to her on how the verses and choruses and the beats and the measures worked?
On a basic level. And I
Right.
didn't get too deep into it because again, this was 20 to 30-minute conversation. So, it takes longer than that to get deep into music theory.
Yeah.
But I think on a basic level, she grasped it.
And then what was
Now,
the next thing after that? What did you show her after you taught her that part? 20 minutes, 30 minutes of that.
so after that, we talked about, beats per minute, BPM. And then I started to tell her, you can change the BPM on music. That's how DJs will get a song that's slightly slower or slightly faster to match with a song that's not the same speed. And showed her what the pitch control can do, and kind of explained to her that, hey, you don't want to go too much of a range and try to mix something that's 115 versus something that's 128. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But I also explained to her that, there is like kind of double time, right? So you can mix something that's 60 beats per minute with something that's 120 beats per minute
Right. But that's a
because it's
little bit
double
of
time.
but that's a little bit advanced. Did she grasp
Yeah,
that? Did she
but but
grasp that though?
but yeah, she did, and I gave
Uh-huh.
her some examples and showed her some examples of mixing that, so she understood that. Now, I don't think she's going to jump right in and try to
Correct.
attempt mixes like that, but
Right.
she at least kind of understood what
Understood
I
it.
meant. You mentioned the sync button. I'm not mentioning to her yet what the
Right.
sync button is, but I'm showing her basically there's the BPM of the first track you just loaded.
Right. Load up
There's
another
the
song on the
BPM.
other side. Right.
Yeah, on the other
And move
side,
the
there's the
slider
BPM
until
of
they
that.
match. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So we didn't have that, right? So it took us a long time. It took, a
Right.
lot of practice for
Right.
me to
Well,
know that because I didn't BPM my records. I just
right.
didn't take the time to do that. So I just knew from being familiar with my records, like, okay, these will go together, these
Right.
won't.
So after that, after she learned those basics that you taught her, then you put her in front and you gave her a selected amount of music for her to choose. What did she do? She started
So
loading it
yeah,
up and picking
yeah,
songs and started
she,
putting it in queue or whatever. Obviously, it was off a bunch of
yeah,
times, but then she got a little bit better and a little better.
she's not off because she's looking at the BPM and matching the BPM before she even attempts to mix.
Got you.
So
Okay.
so
Okay.
again,
That's
we're
fine. That's
using
fine. Nothing wrong with that.
technology.
Right.
Yeah, we're using technology for DJs that learn the old-fashioned way. That seems like a giant shortcut, but you know
Right.
what? There's no reason not to use the technology, and it's telling you these things, so why not do it? It
Right.
fast
And
forwards her
and
learning.
and I'm going to pause you real quick on that. That is the reason that I say that newer DJs or up and coming DJs like your daughter that doesn't know about how to count BPMs, and that the BPM on analog disco songs, which she's probably not going to play anytime soon, change because it was done, live. It's not, syncopated or on beat. So she doesn't know, she can pick two songs from Calvin Harris 128, 128 and throw it on beat, and the whole song is going to stay on beat the whole throughout the night. And this is one of the reasons why I say that sync is something that you should embrace, because when I mention sync, I mean you press the button and all it does is copies the BPM from one to the other. So if you load up a 113.8, which is almost 114, you hit the sync, and when you load up your next track, it'll load up that track that's similar right at 113.7 or 8 or whatever it is. That's all the sync is doing for you. You still have to throw it in on time.
True.
So
I
that's one of the reasons why I segued into that, but I wanted to explain that because a lot of DJs think that sync means that it's going to match the song and it's going to mix automatically. And that's not true. You can set it up in Serato where you can have how it's going to mix that song in, and if it's just copying the BPM. So I just wanted to segue into that real quick on the sync part.
Yeah, I'm choosing not to teach her about sync just yet.
Yeah, no, and you shouldn't. And you shouldn't.
Yeah, a couple of reasons, because if she comes across tracks that are not properly aligned with the grid,
right,
then when you put sync on, it's not going to work well.
Depending on the sync, you see, you just fell into it. Fell into
what?
You fell into the trick that people think that's why they don't like grids. I mean, they don't like sync for that reason.
I've seen that happen. That if the grid is not if the grid is not properly done,
that's only
then it messes up.
It messes
I've seen
up.
it happen.
Yes, you're right. But you don't. But to copy just the BPM, you don't have to have the grid on time.
But if you use the sync button to lock in those two tracks,
all you're doing is copying the BPM. That's the reason. You see, you are an advanced DJ that fell for the same trap that I'm explaining to people, and they don't understand what I mean by sync.
I don't know. I've seen it happen.
If you go into hold on a minute. If you go into Serato, there's 3 options in there, and it tells you, what do you want sync to do? Do you want it to?
I wasn't even aware that there was
I
options.
understand.
I don't mess with it.
And you're not the only DJ that I've explained this to. And this is the reason why I like these shows, to educate people, because this is why I get tired of people like, oh, I don't use sync because I don't want it to be mixed myself, or it's going to be off because the beat grid is off. Sync could only copy your BPMs. Like I said, it doesn't matter. It knows that it's 114 and 114. So it's going to copy from 114. Let's say you load up a track on the next side, which is 116. It'll grab the 114 and move it over, so it's already in sync. The in sync meaning that the BPMs are the same. Now, you still have to throw it in on time. And yes, if the beat grid is off, you can't just hit Q and throw it in because the beat grid is off. But all you're doing is just copying the BPM. That's it. Your beat grid could be off.
I mean, I guess if that's the case, then that's fine. But to me, that's the same as sliding. It takes you 2 seconds to slide the pitch fader to match the BPM anyway.
Right, but that is the reason why I always say that the DJ becomes a DJ, and an old school DJ always says, "I'm a DJ because I know how to beat mix." All they're doing is just moving the fader to find 114. That's
true.
It.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
And one of the things that I did with my daughter too, when I was explaining to her how things were, is I turned off the monitor.
Yeah.
So she didn't see any BPM, and I says, try to mix those tracks.
Correct.
And she saw how much difficulty it was, because she didn't know, of course,
she didn't see them lining up.
She didn't see them lining up. And of course, when they're off, one of the things that DJs struggle with, or used to struggle with, is you're not sure what to speed up and what to slow down. You don't know that method yet. So it was kind of fun to show her, hey, that's how it used to be. But
Right.
again, I'm glad that she's able to take advantage of the technology.
I
It's a big
I
shortcut, but good
yeah.
for her.
Yeah. I love teaching, like, say, new DJs on new technology, um and really bypassing altogether the old way of DJing and just show them the new way. And then after they learn how to do it the new way, then I go and teach them the other way around. Then I teach them like you
Yeah,
did. Turn off the
yeah,
monitor. Now see
yeah,
how you can mix.
yeah.
Um
I think not the technique of mixing, and
right.
matching BPMs is not important, but I think that it's so easy now, that part of it,
Right.
that we shouldn't spend too much time on that. Like
Right.
let them learn how to,
Right.
okay, you match the BPM. The important thing, and the thing that I see a lot of DJs that are active DJs
Hmm.
still don't know, goes back to what I said about music theory and even basic music
You
theory. So
do.
you
You
have DJs that are mixing at the wrong time because they don't understand music theory, and they're overlapping vocals, one track and another track, and the vocals are overlapping each other because they mixed at the wrong period of
right.
time.
Right.
Or you've got DJs where you've got tracks that have 16 or 32 bar intros and
Oh,
outros, and
absolutely.
they're mixing way too early. So now you have
You know
just
how
a
many
drum intro
you
or a drum outro that's playing
you
over each
know
other.
how many DJs do that in South Florida?
Yeah,
A
and
shit ton.
but it's because of that. They don't understand basic music theory
Right.
and the timing, and they don't know. They might have their BPMs locked, but they don't
True.
understand. Like, hey, you should have mixed
Earlier.
eight
Right.
bars or 16 bars
Right.
earlier,
Right.
so
Right.
you could have a fluid mix that went from the
Yeah.
peak recognizable elements of this song right into the peak elements and
Of the
recognizable
other
stuff
song.
of this song, so the energy just keeps going.
Continue.
Instead, it goes like it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like a curve that goes like this, and it's just
Down. Right. And then
dead
it.
for a
Right.
while,
Right.
and then
And
it
then it
comes
goes
up.
back up. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and again, that's basic music theory. You
It
don't
is.
have to
It
know how
is.
to
I'm
read
not
music,
right. And I'm
but
not. And I'm not advocating that to not to learn your basics and not to learn how to beat mix and how to count your measures, how to use key, the key of
Mhm.
two songs, make sure they're similar, harmony, I mean, all of those things, the Camelot, that now it's a much easier if you don't understand music theory and you don't understand how what key goes with what key, that the software tells you. But this is
Yep.
why I say it's much easier for a DJ to learn how to DJ now. That's why there's so many DJs out there. And yes, you got to learn the basics, and you also have to learn then, now going back, your old school. What triggers people to get on the dance floor that's older, from the 2000 to the 2020s, the 2010s, the 90s,
Mhm.
and back. So those
Yeah.
are things that are more advanced and they will learn. So right now, to learn the basics for your daughter, that's awesome. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I hope she sticks with it. We're at the point now that we're going to buy her a little setup so
Yeah.
she can take it back to college and continue to practice, and hopefully it turns into something for her. It'd be nice and fairly easy for her to get into doing these parties that I mentioned at the sororities and the fraternities. They're always looking for some DJ to do it, so
Correct.
you can start with that, and
Right.
maybe getting into one of the bars up there, and
We
who
we
knows
all
what
we
else.
we all started somewhere. I started
Yeah,
with cassettes, with a cassette and a turntable. That's all I
yeah,
had. And I
yeah.
had to mix from cassette to turntable, from turntable back to cassette. And I rigged my cassette where I opened it up and I changed the motor speed, very badly made, but I can slow it down. I can slow down the cassette player. I couldn't speed it up, but I can slow it
Hmm.
down, in order to mix what I thought was mixing. So it's just what you have. And we all started somewhere. And some people
Yeah,
started, uh, the nice thing is now with technology like she is, where controllers are affordable.
yeah,
For less than $1,000, you can get her a controller, some speakers, and a little
yeah,
laptop, and she's ready to rock and roll and learn, which is kind of cool. That would have
yeah,
taken a
yeah.
lot of money when you and I started.
Yeah, yeah, and I can copy my hard drive
And
of
give it to
music
her.
for her. just like that. Doesn't
Right.
cost her anything.
Right.
So yeah, good for her. Hopefully she carries on the legacy.
Well, that's right. Yeah, the John Q legacy. You gotta let
Yeah.
us know when she gets advanced and she drops her first mixtape.
And she likes house music, so I'm really
Good.
excited about that. So
I
she
wonder where she got
loves.
it from.
I have no idea.
Could you give a little plug to your radio thing, the motion radio?
To my site,
Yeah.
well, djjohnq.com is where there's like 150 or so of my mixes, so
Right.
people can go and download those for nothing. So it's
Right.
djjohnq.com, and it's CUE, not the letter Q.
Right. And I've told you this before. I mean, and this is obviously, giving you a pat in the back. You're really good at what you do. Extremely good. Like you should be and I've told you this before, you should be programming like Sirius XM radio, like a station. You should have that because you're that talented. Your
Thank you.
music selection is just better than anything else I've heard.
Thank you, George.
And that is true.
That means a lot.
That is true. So on that note, you guys can see me here on the George Jett Show. And if you want to be a guest, contact me. I'm on Facebook, on Instagram. Type in a comment and I'll, get a hold of me and I'll put you in. Any last words?
No, it was a good conversation. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing, what the viewers are going to be writing in the comments about the AI art and the AI music part of it. I know you got a lot of DJ friends, so hopefully they chime in because I'm anxious to see what they say.
Cool. Well, it was a pleasure to have you back, and we're going to sign off. So, John Q, nice to have you back. See you on the next one.